The Honourable Member for Vancouver East, and I believe she has 8 minutes left for her comments. Oh, I apologize.
Yes. I actually haven't spoken on the bill, so
I apologize. The Honourable Member has a full 10 minutes.
Thank you very
My
much,
mistake.
Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I'm very pleased to rise in the House today to speak on Bill C-313. And I'd like to thank the member from Sonia Lambton, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Sonia Lambton, for bringing forward this bill. And I know that we're in the second hour of debate, so it's already had a full hour of debate. And I know that some of my colleagues have already spoken to the bill and signified our support for this bill. And that certainly continues. So in the second hour of debate, I don't know that there's a whole lot more information to add, but it is important that we have a second hour of debate. And I guess I wanted to begin my remarks by just speaking a little more generally about, I think, what this bill raises in a very important sense, and that is, you know, the healthcare system in Canada is huge. We have so many healthcare concerns. There's natural health products. There's the, you know, sort of the mainstream health system itself. And I think within that massive industry and system that we have, there's no doubt that we live in an age now where more and more sort of cosmetic type therapies and aids and assistance, whether sometimes they're in drugs, sometimes they're in other forms of assistance, are on the market. And one only has to look at television or any form of mass media to see the incredible amount of advertising and promotion of all kinds of products. And on the one hand, you could say, well, that's a good thing. You know, it means that there's lots of choice in this country and consumers have choice. But I think we're all very aware, and certainly as members of Parliament, when we hear from our constituents and we hear about stories of things that have happened to people or complaints that are made, we're very aware that with that huge array of the market and products and therapies that are available, there also has to be a sense of responsibility. And I think it does speak to the role, the important role of why we're here, why we have government, and that is to look out for the public interest. Sometimes the marketplace doesn't do all that it's cracked up to do. It doesn't necessarily assume that responsibility of safety and awareness. And although there are many instances where there are voluntary associations of businesses or sectors that do promote awareness and education, sometimes they don't go as far as they need. So I do think that this particular bill gives us a very good illumination and example of, you know, just one, I was going to say a lens, excuse the pun, but it does give us a very good example of where we have an enormous amount of products that are available, and there isn't necessarily the kind of consumer awareness and education and indeed regulation that's needed to make sure that people are safe. So on that reason, I think that it's very opportune and very good that this bill has come forward, because it does draw our attention to the problems with cosmetic contact lenses and the fact that they're not regulated and that they have caused problems for people. And you know, consumers who are buying certain products may not be aware of the possible infections or irritations or allergy or you know, just the problems that this product can cause. And so I do think that this bill that's being brought forward that would amend the Food and Drug Act to classify cosmetic contact lenses as Class 2 medical devices, which would really bring it in line and make it the same as what we normally see as regular contact corrective lenses. I do think that this is a first step that would require all of the cosmetic lenses sold in Canada to be licensed through Health Canada. and for distributors of the products to require a medical device establishment license. Now, I know that people fret about bureaucracy and people fret about rules and regulations, but I think, again, we have to strike that balance. And when one looks at the history of this issue, and we know that in years gone by, going back to October 2000, in fact, that Health Canada actually issued warnings about coloured contact lenses, and then again in 2003, Health Canada commissioned a third-party risk assessment report that was named the Human Health Risk Assessment of Cosmetic Contact Lens. Then, we know that there are some serious concerns. In that report, they concluded that, quote, the available evidence suggests that the level of risk associated with the use of cosmetic contact lenses is comparable to that associated with corrective lenses and may be potentially higher, end of quotes. And now what the conclusion that they came to, this risk assessment report, is that they recommended that cosmetic contact lenses be regulated by Health Canada, such as requiring prescriptions for their use and restricting their sale to regulated health professionals. Now, Madam Speaker, I do think that this is very important to be followed up. And in fact, I think one query that we did have in the NDP, and that was raised by some of my colleagues in the earlier part of the debate, was that, while we're happy that the member brought forward this bill as a private member's bill, one would have hoped that as a result of this work that goes back to 2000 and 2003, that the government would have brought it forward itself. That didn't happen, so it's good that it's now before us in a private member's bill, and we are in full support of this bill. And we believe that it's very important that the vision of Canadians be protected, that there be consumer awareness, that there be proper regulation, and that there be a level of professionalism within this industry, so that consumers have some measure of protection. So it seems to us that that's the very least that we should be doing, and I look forward to this bill. I think it will pass the House. I look forward to it going to committee. I imagine it will come to the Health Committee, and I hope that we can look at the bill in more detail and we'll be able to hear some witnesses, because I know that there are major organizations that are supporting this bill, and I'm sure that they may have some good recommendations as well that we could look at. So I look forward to it being in committee. But again, I want to thank the member for bringing it forward and hope that we can deal with this issue, and we will have taken just a little tiny step to ensure that there is better safety for Canadians in terms of their vision, and that we will have created a better awareness about this problem. And when people are out there in the marketplace and they're getting drawn in by the very sometimes persuasive, shall I say, advertising that goes on and the marketing that goes on, that there can be a counterbalance to that, both in terms of regulation to make sure that there are proper standards and licensing, but also in terms of making consumers and potential buyers aware of what it is that they're purchasing and what some of the risks are and what needs to be done in terms of handling and using this particular product. So, Madam Speaker, I think I'll leave it at that, and look forward to the bill, should it pass second reading, going to the committee to be examined in greater detail. Thank you.
Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Halifax